today's episode of Pennsylvania Daily News. We have a special Flashback Friday episode where we will be talking about the past events of the war.
We're talking about the events that happened April 12th through the 14th in 1861, also known as the attack at Fort Sumter. For more information, we're going to be going to Roz, who's on scene.
Becca, I'm reporting from Charleston, South Carolina, where Fort Sumter is located. And Union troops located here. When South Carolina seceded, Jefferson Davis asked Lincoln to remove the Union troops from Fort Sumter. Lincoln didn't want to seem weak to the Union by removing his troops, but he also didn't want to start a war by starting the violence. He sent in food and supplies to his troops, which meant Davis had no option but to begin the violence and start a blood.
Because Jefferson Davis started the violence at Fort Sumter, this led on to a very bloody 4-year war.
This is an overview of Fort Sumter. The exact number is unknown of deaths. It is, however, known that 52 Confederate soldiers were killed during the surrender ceremony. There were also many slaves killed during this war.
Gettysburg was a battle that neither the Confederacy nor the Union would ever forget.
Led by A.P. Hill, many of them barefoot, herded their supply of footwear in Gettysburg and went to find it, and also to meet up forces under General Lee. As troops marched towards Gettysburg, they ran in a couple of brigades of Union cavalry under the command of John Bufford, an experienced officer from Illinois. It was meant to take defense positions on the hills and ridges surrounding the town, from which they engaged Hill's troops. Now under command of General George Meade, fell back under furious rebel assaults. Took control of the town. Lee knew, however, that the battle would be won unless Northerners were also forced to yield their positions on Cemetery Ridge, the high ground south of Gettysburg.
July 2nd, 1863, General Robert E. Lee was trying to capitalize on his previous day of success.
General James Longstreet to attack on Cemetery Ridge, where the Union troops were held.
Is a range of hills south of Gettysburg. This, specifically on Cemetery Hill, was where around 90,000 Union soldiers had set up for war. The Confederacy then wrapped around this set of hills with about 70,000 of their soldiers. This strategy has become known as the fish hook. Lee then launched heavy assaults on
Timberlake led his main troops to meet the rebels, and he stopped the repeating Confederate attacks.
When his troops ran short of ammunition, he made the decision to have a bayonet charge at the Confederates.
The rebels were exhausted by the fighting the previous day and the 25-mile march, and they were also shocked by the Union attack and surrendered.
Although the Union had made some ground, the line still held very close, and there was no change by the end of the day.
Gettysburg, July 3rd, 1863. Day 3 began because Lee was optimistic about invading the North. He thought that one more attack on the North would break the Union lines.
Ordered an artillery barrage on the middle of the Union lines. This led to 2 hours of vicious firing exchange. It could be heard all the way in Pittsburgh.
Union artillery fell silent, and so Lee insisted that Longstreet and his men press forward. Reluctantly, Longstreet led his men forward across farmland towards the high Union grounds.
Renewed its barrage, but the Confederate reached its lines and the Yankees fired on them.
The Confederacy staggered back, and the North held the high grounds of Gettysburg. Then Lee sent men on horseback, led by James Stewart, circling around the right flank of Meade's forces. They were hoping to surprise the Union from the rear and meet Longstreet's men in the middle.
Stalled because they met with Union troops under Gregg about 3 miles
away. In the end, Lee's army was weak and Stewart was stopped, but Meade never knew this, so he never ordered a counterattack against the Confederacy. In the end, Lee gave up invading the North, and they retreated to Virginia through the rain with his men, ending in a Confederacy.
Throughout Gettysburg, there was quite a few losses. A total of 165,620 soldiers were in the war. But in Gettysburg, 51,112 were the total number of casualties. On the Union side, 3,155 were killed, 14,529 were wounded, and 5,365 are missing or have been captured.
The Confederacy also lost many men. 3,903 were killed, 18,735 were wounded, and 5,423 were either missing and captured.
News would like to thank our sponsors, Rogaine Hair Care, for viewers like
middle-aged men who are strawberry blonde and only 5 feet tall, who dress up like leprechauns and who are miserable and pick on his favorite students. I gets love.
Bring us today.
Hello? Oh my gosh, Lincoln's been shot!
What?
We're going on.
Lindsey right now, who is on scene at Ford's Theater.
I'm here in Ford's Theater, Washington, D.C., and the president has now been shot attending the play Our American Cousin. He was with his family and friends.
According to the police, it is believed that John Wilkes Booth, an American stage actor, shot Lincoln. Booth has been known to strongly oppose the abolition of slavery. Now back to Lindsey.
Questioning John Wilkes Booth because he was with other assassins earlier and was trying to capture Lincoln to Richmond, Virginia, and kidnap him, but his plan had been unsuccessful because Lincoln didn't meet in the specific spot. His leg is now injured because he jumped down from the balcony where Lincoln has been shot. His injuries now, they are uncertain that he's going to live because he's in very critical conditions. This will be the first ever assassination to happen to a president.